All right, today we're going to talk about Claude, Cowork, and case studies. If you haven't done this already, hit your Figma, put it to dev mode, and if you're going to use Claude Cowork or Claude Code, you have to enable this MCP. I think you only have to do this once, and it's always going to work, but neither here nor there. I think originally I had showed you in another video how to do this, but this was my attempt in the beginning to get Claude to connect to my MCP server, and it kept telling me to go to my own terminal and like do all this stuff. And finally I just said like, can't you do it? And it did. So there's that. All right, so I have a new project. So I have this whole file, the entire project file. So I worked on this. It's called PIT, Patient Initiated Testing. I worked for a genetic testing company. So this is we were building an app to get, like better samples, because like the company gets paid when the samples return and it goes through the lab processing. That's when they get paid. So like there's a ton of kits just sitting out there, not like they weren't coming back fast enough. So this was an attempt, also like blah, 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 more successful samples, whatever. So this is my whole project file from documentation to actual screens. These are old, so I want to like update them, and we have some styles in here. Honestly, this was before design systems were a thing, so we listen and we don't judge. I'm just going to run you through what I have really quick. Here is kind of like what I'm building out, which is much like the last project, but let's go back over to Claude. So I started this asking Claude Code, or Cowork specifically. I love this part of Cowork because it's like I need a lot of content on my end to then generate some sort of output. So that's why I'm only in Cowork for now. I haven't even gotten to code yet because I'm not comfortable. I'm just going to be real. I just have to do things in stages, and like chat was, obviously chat was the first, Cowork is the second, and then the code portion of it where you can actually like build and deploy actual like apps and products and stuff. That'll be my next thing, but I'm not going to focus on any of that for now. So let's just keep it to Cowork. I asked Claude, I was like, hey, like I need to create this case study layout about my Invitae project for Behance. Should I do this like I did before and walk through my file? Because if you remember the last time I did like 10 QuickTime videos and put them in there and it just generated that for me, I don't have that memory. I did this project a couple of years ago, and honestly the job, like when I ended, it was pretty tough. So I had like walked away from this work for a while to not think about it, but I want to put it in my portfolio because one, I absolutely loved this mission. Working in genetic testing, especially the rare genetic testing, it was really, really cool. And working in maternity and all that was awesome. So I want to showcase this because also I worked with an engineer and a PM, and we went from 0 to 1, which is 0. Like we didn't have an app to an actual app in 3 months. So that's insanely fast and unheard of. And it's something I really want to highlight. Oh, not to mention, it's also in a highly regulated fields of healthcare with HIPAA and all that stuff. So just unheard of. So I think just based on some more conversations, it already knows I'm in here with the Figma thing connected, and that I'm going to be running some sort of thing through Figma. So pretty much all I had to do was paste my link to that design, and it'll go through. See, it'll go through and read. Let me grab some of the screenshots. So it goes through. And remember how I showed you all of this over here, in this PIT file, it went through every single page and read everything. So that's awesome. It already started building a narrative for me, and then it asked me I think 4 clarifying questions. I go through and I answer those. It goes through a thought process, kind of runs through what are some of your metrics, anything that you can remember. If you can't remember, that's totally fine. I was even do you want to bullshit the metrics? And they're like, don't do that. And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, you're right. So this is it then, which was kind of cool. It proposed the story I'm seeing, because it knows I'm going to have to go to Behance or do a case study. I specifically asked it, I think, to do a case study for Behance. And then I need another thing to build an actual presentation case study. So this was cool. It was this is the story I'm seeing, and just confirm. How about that? What were the metrics? Okay, and it runs down this, and then it ran through the whole thing and spit out this, which we call the vibe coding thing. So it spit out this long form document for me, which is pretty fine, pretty basic, that kind of thing. Yeah, look how fucking high res these screenshots are. Okay, so from there, I have my old one as reference, and then I reuse components a lot. So, I mean, that's just kind of what we do now for efficacy, and like, why are we trying to reinvent the wheel when we don't have to do that? So I took a screenshot of it. If you haven't used this plugin before, all right, so yeah, I took whatever the screenshot. I don't know where the video is, so I'm just gonna keep talking. Anyway, I take this and now I'm starting to translate it into the way I want. Obviously, you see we're using components, we're using some key themes because, you know, that's just the arc of a story is, you know, the beginning, the middle, and the end, and some stuff in between. So that's pretty much what it'll be like. But I'm going to show you how I'm translating this now. So I'm a visual designer. It's like, I would say, other than meaningful work and data-driven problem solving, it's one of my favorite things about my job and my favorite things about, honestly, me. Which then also means that, like, Claude could never, for me, right? Claude could never, like, pump out what I'm going to think of. So I'm always going to go through and make this mine. So here is the start of my interpretation of what Claude had given me. I would say that crafting the narrative and going through an entire Figma file and trying to go through a couple years back of work has been like, look, I hadn't touched this project in so long, and within a couple of days, I was able to get a narrative from Claude, got like a vibe coded thing to understand what my structure should be, and then I can go in and I can curate this. I don't take every single thing that Claude gives me, even in the content or in the imagery. I don't take every single thing and take it as word of God or gospel. I make my own decisions based on there, and I either add things or I remove things, or I would say, for instance, like in here, there's not a lot of like visual storytelling. It's a lot of just, you know, plain, you know, like boxes and words, which is super boring, right? People want variety when they're looking at your work and they want delight, that whole thing. So, you know, just by using these little quibbles here and this little chicken, talking about chicken DNA, those are the things that people are going to notice. And these are the things right here. Little chicken, Claude could never.